Sometimes life throws you into situations you could never have imagined, not even in your worst nightmares. If you're listening right now, I want you to picture this, standing in the middle of a crowded party, music thumping, laughter filling the air, people sipping their drinks, yet your whole world is collapsing inside your chest. Because across the room, your wife, the woman you built your life around, is sneaking glances at another man. And here's the twist. I was at that very party with his wife. The woman who was supposed to be her love rival, standing right beside me. That night changed everything. My heartbreak, my betrayal, my revenge, it all started right there. But before I take you into that unforgettable night, let me rewind. Because to understand how I got there, you need to know who I was, who my wife was, and how the cracks in our marriage started showing long before I wanted to admit it. My name is Daniel. I'm 36 years old, and I live in the suburbs just outside of Dallas. I've always been what people might call an ordinary guy. Steady job in logistics, 2-story house, a yard I took pride in mowing every Saturday morning. I married my wife, Emily, 8 years ago. She was beautiful in that approachable way. Bright blue eyes, warm smile, a laugh that made people want to stick around. Emily worked as a freelance graphic designer, which meant she spent a lot of time at home. For years, I thought we had a good marriage. Sure, we had our ups and downs, but who doesn't? We laughed a lot. We traveled when we could. We dreamed about having kids one day. And I honestly believed she loved me the way I loved her. But the truth is, sometimes the most dangerous betrayals are hidden behind the most convincing smiles. The first sign came on a random Tuesday evening. Emily had been glued to her phone all week, more than usual. I noticed the way her fingers flew across the screen, the little half-smiles she tried to hide. When I walked into the room, she'd quickly lock her phone or tilt it away. At first, I brushed it off. I told myself, she's probably talking to one of her girlfriends. But deep down, something gnawed at me. You know that feeling in your gut, when something just doesn't sit right? That was me. One night, I asked casually, "Who's keeping you so busy on that phone?" She laughed it off. "Oh, just talking to Jenna. You know how she goes on and on about her new job." I smiled, pretended to believe it, but a voice in my head whispered, "She's lying." And let me tell you, when trust starts to crack, every little thing feels suspicious. The late-night showers. The new lingerie I hadn't seen before. The sudden interest in going out for girls' nights, when she'd always preferred cozy evenings at home. I wanted to be the good husband. I wanted to trust her. But the more I ignored the signs, the louder they screamed at me. Then came the party invitation. It was from a couple we knew loosely, Mark and his wife, Rachel. They lived a few streets away, and we'd bumped into them at community events. The invite was simple, a casual get-together, lots of neighbors, some music, drinks, just a night of fun. Emily seemed oddly eager to go. "It'll be good for us," she said, almost too brightly. So I agreed. The night of the party, I remember standing in front of the mirror, straightening my shirt, feeling a pit in my stomach I couldn't explain. Emily looked stunning, too stunning, like she'd spent hours more than usual getting ready. Her perfume was stronger, her lipstick brighter. She looked like a woman trying to impress someone. The party was lively, warm lights strung across the backyard, laughter spilling into the night air. People mingled with drinks in hand, the smell of barbecue floating around. Emily quickly drifted into the crowd, leaving me chatting with some neighbors. But I couldn't relax. My eyes kept scanning, looking for her. And then I saw it. Across the patio, Emily stood near a tall man, dark hair, confident posture. They weren't standing close enough to seem obvious, but their eyes told a story. That magnetic pull, those stolen glances, the way her lips curved just slightly differently when she talked to him, it was there. My chest tightened. And here's where it gets insane. The man was Mark. Our neighbor. The host of the party. I felt the blood rush to my head. Betrayal. Heartbreak. Rage. It was like being punched in the gut. I didn't know what to do. I stood frozen. Until a soft voice beside me said, "So, you see it too, huh?" I turned. It was Rachel, Mark's wife. She held her wine glass like a weapon she wanted to throw. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but fierce. That's when the floor dropped beneath me. Not only was my wife having an affair, but her lover's wife knew. And she was standing right there, watching it all unfold with me. For a moment, we just stood there in silence, two betrayed spouses breathing the same poisoned air. Rachel finally whispered, "I've known for weeks. I didn't know how to tell you." Her words hit me like a freight train. Weeks. My wife had been lying to me for weeks. I wanted to storm across that yard, grab Emily by the arm, and demand answers in front of everyone. I wanted to hit Mark square in the jaw. I wanted to scream. But Rachel touched my arm gently and said, "Not here. Not like this. Trust me." That was the beginning of the most unbelievable night of my life. And if you're still listening, don't forget to like this video. It really helps us reach more people who love true life stories like this. As the party went on, I tried to act normal. But every laugh Emily shared with Mark felt like a dagger. Rachel and I stuck close together, united by our shared humiliation. At one point, Emily came over, smiling. "You two look serious. What's going on?" Rachel's lips curled into something between a smile and a snarl. "Oh, just talking about how married people should behave at parties." Emily's smile faltered for a split second before she covered it. But I saw it. That tiny crack. My heart was pounding. I realized in that moment, this wasn't just about heartbreak. This was about betrayal, deception, and the possibility of revenge. And the craziest part? Rachel and I both knew we weren't going to let this slide. If you were in my shoes, standing at that party with the cheater's wife by your side, what would you have done? Comment below. I really want to hear your thoughts. Because that night, the seed of revenge was planted. And what came after, you wouldn't believe if I didn't tell you. That night after the party, I barely slept. I lay on my side of the bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Emily breathe softly beside me as if nothing had happened. Every inhale she took felt like a knife twisting in my chest. How could she lie so easily? How could she look me in the eye, kiss me goodnight, and fall asleep when I had just watched her soul lean toward another man? I wanted to shake her awake, demand answers, make her admit what I already knew. But I couldn't. Not yet. Rachel's words echoed in my head, "Not here. Not like this. Trust me." The next morning, Emily hummed in the kitchen while making coffee. She looked radiant, almost glowing, as though the previous night had filled her with some secret joy. I forced myself to act normal, sipping the bitter coffee while my insides boiled. By the time she left for a supposed client meeting, I had made up my mind. I grabbed my phone and texted Rachel. "We need to talk. Today." She replied almost instantly. "My place. 3 p.m. Mark's at work. I'll make coffee." That message was the lifeline I needed. At exactly 3 o'clock, I pulled up outside Rachel's house. I felt like I was walking into enemy territory, except she wasn't the enemy, she was my only ally now. She opened the door with a tight smile, ushering me in quickly. Her home was cozy but tense, like it had absorbed every argument she'd had with Mark in the last few weeks. A half-finished bottle of wine sat on the counter, next to a stack of untouched takeout containers. Rachel looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, but her gaze was sharp. "I'm glad you came," she said softly. I nodded, sitting at her kitchen table. For a moment neither of us spoke. The silence between us was heavy with unspoken pain. Finally she broke it. "They've been sneaking around for a while. I found messages. Pictures. Even hotel receipts." The words made my stomach lurch. "How long?" 2 months. Maybe more. She rubbed her temples. At first I thought it was just harmless flirting. You know how neighbors talk, laugh. But then it got obvious. He started staying late at work, hiding his phone. I confronted him once, and he swore it was nothing. I wanted to believe him. But then I caught Emily's name in his messages. My chest burned. The image of my wife typing away on her phone, smiling secretly, now had proof behind it. She wasn't talking to Jenna. She was talking to Mark. Rachel slid her phone across the table. I saved screenshots. You should see this. I hesitated, then picked it up. The messages were undeniable. Flirty texts. Late night. I miss you. Plans to meet. Even pet names. My name was mentioned once, in a way that made me want to smash the phone into the wall. Daniel's so clueless. He has no idea. It makes this even more exciting. My vision blurred with rage. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was emotional, psychological. She mocked me while building her secret world with another man. I dropped the phone, pressing my palms to my face. I can't believe this. 8 years of marriage. And she does this to me. Rachel's voice was cold but steady. I know how it feels. But we can't just sit here and let them get away with it. I looked up at her. What are you saying? She leaned closer, her eyes blazing. I'm saying we need to play this smart. Expose them. Make them face the mess they created. And maybe get a little revenge along the way. There it was. The word. Revenge. It rolled around in my mind, half terrifying, half thrilling. Could I do it? Could I really set out to destroy the people who had destroyed me? Rachel must have seen the hesitation on my face because she smirked. Don't think of it as being cruel. Think of it as balance. They took something from us. We're just taking something back. Her logic was twisted, but it made sense in the haze of my heartbreak. We spent hours at that kitchen table, plotting like conspirators in a war. We didn't have all the details yet, but one thing was clear: we weren't going to confront them head on. Not yet. We were going to let them dig their own graves. That night, when I returned home, Emily was waiting with a smile and a glass of wine. How was your day? She asked sweetly. I forced a smile back. Busy. Yours? Oh, just meetings. You know. She kissed my cheek like nothing had changed. I swallowed the bile in my throat and kissed her back. But in my heart, I whispered, your game is almost up. Over the next week, Rachel and I became secret allies. We texted constantly, sharing updates, keeping each other sane. Every time Emily went shopping or had a client dinner, Rachel confirmed Mark had a matching excuse. The puzzle fit together too perfectly. One night, Rachel called me in a whisper. They're meeting tomorrow at the Silver Oak Hotel. Room 214. I saw the reservation on Mark's laptop. My chest tightened. This was it. Proof in the flesh. Do we confront them? I asked. Not yet, she said. We catch them first. Together. The next day, I felt like I was walking through a dream. I told Emily I had to work late. She kissed me goodbye, dressed to kill, claiming she was meeting a client for dinner. I watched her drive away, my fists clenched so tight my knuckles went white. I met Rachel in the hotel parking lot. My heart pounded as we walked through the lobby, pretending to be strangers, then headed up the stairwell instead of the elevator. Room 214 was at the end of the hall. We stood outside, listening. Muffled laughter. The sound of a woman's voice I knew too well. The low rumble of Mark's reply. My entire body shook. Rachel pulled out her phone and hit record. She gave me a sharp nod. Then, without another thought, I kicked the door. It flew open. The sight will haunt me forever. Emily and Mark, tangled in sheets, gasping in shock as we burst in. Her eyes widened in horror, her mouth opening but no words coming out. Rachel's voice was like fire. Surprise. Thought you could keep this little broken marriage drama a secret? I stood frozen, my chest heaving, my world collapsing. Emily scrambled, clutching the sheets to her chest. Daniel, I can explain. Explain? My voice cracked with rage. You've been lying to me for months. You made me the fool. Mark tried to speak, but Rachel cut him off. Shut up. I've had enough of your pathetic excuses. I pulled out my phone, snapping picture after picture. Emily's tears blurred, Mark's face twisted in panic. Evidence. Proof. Their lies were over. The silence that followed was thick with humiliation. Finally, Emily whispered, Please, Daniel, don't do this. We can fix it. Her words rang hollow. Fix it? After mocking me behind my back? After choosing cheap thrills over vows? My fists trembled at my sides. I turned to Rachel, my voice low but firm. We're not done. This is just the beginning. And in that moment I knew forgiveness was no longer on the table. Revenge was. If you're still here, hit that subscribe button, because what comes next will shock you even more than this. Rachel and I walked out of that hotel, leaving them trembling in their shame. The night air hit me like ice, but my heart was on fire. For the first time in weeks, I felt powerful. Because now, the game had truly begun. Walking out of that hotel with Rachel at my side, I felt like my life had split into two timelines, the man I used to be, and the man I was becoming. The old me was blind, trusting, naive. The new me was angry, sharp, deliberate. And he wanted justice. The days that followed were a blur of tension. Emily tried to act normal, pretending nothing had happened, as if I hadn't walked in on her betrayal. She'd come into the living room with hopeful smiles, asking if I wanted dinner, if I wanted to talk. But I wasn't ready to talk. Not yet. I watched her carefully, like a detective observing a suspect. Every move she made, every word she spoke, felt rehearsed. She was scrambling to hold on to her old life while still craving her secret one. Meanwhile, Rachel and I plotted. We weren't just going to expose them, we were going to teach them. To let them taste the humiliation they'd fed us. Rachel suggested we wait until the neighborhood barbecue. It was coming up in 2 weeks, hosted by the same community group that had invited us to Mark's party. Most of the neighbors would be there, including friends, colleagues, even family. If we're going to do this, she said, let's make sure they can't crawl out of it quietly. Her plan was bold, ruthless, and perfect. In the meantime, Emily started growing desperate. One night she sat across from me at the dinner table, tears in her eyes. Daniel, please. I made a mistake. A huge one. But I love you. Can't we move past this? Her voice cracked just right. Her tears flowed convincingly. Maybe once upon a time, I would have believed her. But now, all I saw was a woman trying to salvage her comfort, not her marriage. You love me? I said quietly, my fork clinking against the plate. You loved me while you were in his bed? She flinched. It wasn't like that. Stop. My voice was sharper than I intended. Don't insult me with lies. I saw you. I heard you. You mocked me while you were sneaking around. You called me clueless. Was that love too? Her silence said everything. That night, I slept on the couch, my heart stone cold. Forgiveness versus revenge in marriage, that was the battle raging in my head. But every time I thought of forgiveness, I remembered that hotel room, those texts, that laugh she shared with him. And the scale tipped back to revenge. The day of the barbecue arrived, hot and bright. The park was buzzing with chatter, the smell of grilled burgers and hot dogs filling the air. Kids ran around with balloons, neighbors gathered in clusters with drinks in hand. Emily wore a sundress, smiling nervously, trying to play the doting wife. Mark was there too, swaggering as though his secret sins weren't about to bury him alive. Rachel caught my eye across the crowd and gave the slightest nod. It was time. We had planned every detail. While Emily and Mark were busy mingling, Rachel and I set up a projector near the main gathering spot. The excuse was simple, a slideshow of community photos from past events. Nobody questioned it. People gathered curious, expecting to see fun memories on the screen. The first few images were harmless: kids playing at the park, last year's Christmas party, smiling neighbors. Laughter filled the air. Emily squeezed my arm, relieved. She had no idea what was coming. Then Rachel clicked the remote. The screen flickered. And suddenly, there it was, a photo of Emily and Mark in that hotel room. Tangled sheets. Shock on their faces. Then another, screenshots of their texts, the pet names, the cruel jokes at my expense. The crowd gasped. Silence fell like a hammer. Emily's face drained of color. Mark stuttered, stepping forward, but the damage was done. The whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire. Cheating wife story. Betrayal and heartbreak. Broken marriage drama. The words I had dreaded were now spilling from everyone else's mouths. Rachel's voice cut through the murmurs. This is what our loving spouses have been doing while we trusted them. While we built lives with them. This is who they really are. Emily turned to me, her eyes wide with horror. Daniel, please turn it off. We can talk about this at home. I shook my head slowly. No more secrets, Emily. No more lies. Everyone deserves to see the truth. Mark tried to lunge for the projector, but a couple of neighbors held him back. The humiliation on his face was almost satisfying. Almost. Emily collapsed into a chair, sobbing, her mascara streaking down her face. You ruined me, she whispered. No, I said, my voice steady. You ruined yourself. I just pulled back the curtain. The fallout was immediate. Neighbors avoided Emily and Mark, their whispers sharp and cutting. Rachel stood tall beside me, her eyes blazing with vindication. For once, the power was in our hands. After the barbecue, Emily begged me not to leave her. She followed me around the house, pleading, promising, swearing she'd change. We can go to counseling. We can rebuild. Please, Daniel, I can't lose you. But her words bounced off me like raindrops on stone. One evening, as she knelt on the living room floor in tears, I finally said it. Emily, the woman I loved doesn't exist anymore. You killed her when you chose him. I can't bring her back, and I don't want to try. This marriage is over. Her sobs echoed through the house as I packed a bag and walked out. In the weeks that followed, the divorce papers came. It wasn't easy. My heart ached, my mind replayed memories, my body longed for the comfort of the familiar. But I knew I had made the right choice. Forgiveness might work for some couples, but in my story, forgiveness would have been surrender. Rachel divorced Mark too. We stayed in touch, bound by the fire we'd walked through together. There were rumors, of course. Neighbors whispered that maybe we'd end up together. But the truth was simpler. We were survivors, not lovers. We didn't need romance to validate what we'd endured. Months later, I sat alone in my new apartment, reflecting on everything. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the revenge. It had cost me my marriage, my trust, my peace of mind. But it had also given me something back, clarity. I learned that betrayal isn't just about the act, it's about the choice. Emily chose deceit over love. Mark chose selfishness over loyalty. And Rachel and I chose to stand up for ourselves instead of shrinking into silence. If you're listening right now, maybe you've been through something similar. Maybe you felt that gut punch of discovering your spouse isn't who you thought they were. Let me tell you this, you are not weak for hurting. You are not broken for wanting answers. And you are not wrong for demanding respect. If you're still here, don't forget to hit like, it really helps. And comment below, what do you think? Was revenge the right path, or should I have tried forgiveness? In the end, I walked away stronger. My story wasn't just a cheating wife story. It was a story about survival, about finding power in the ashes of betrayal, about refusing to let heartbreak define the rest of my life. And while the memory of that night at the party will never leave me, the night I stood beside my wife's lover's wife, united in pain, I now see it for what it was, the beginning of my freedom.